And now, here's Jack.
Thank you. And as long as you're standing up, I want you to take off your overcoat. Couldn't get in the music hall, huh? We have a good show tonight. It's really worth staying up for. I wouldn't interrupt the honeymoon for it, but I really think it's worth staying up tonight. Let me see. People write in and they say, why do I always go like this? And I don't know. It happened many years ago when I was popular that we figured out that 20 minutes of applause wasn't good programming, so I had to find a way, to stop it. And last week a lady gets carried away when she sees someone she likes, and she began to applaud and whistle through her teeth at the same time, and she began to drool all over her blouse and the whole thing. So I'm known, I'm known as the guy who does this. They don't speak of my, 25 years of, my dancing and my singing and my trampoline work. Nobody ever mentions that, just this. We all have little idiosyncrasies, that we do that are our own and wouldn't look right with anybody else. Did you ever see Merv Griffin come on the show? No. Well, that's very amusing in the studio. It does cause comment on Fifth Avenue, but, he's happy. Perry Como, he has his own style of relaxed, easygoing talking and singing. But, it wouldn't look right for Adlai Stevenson to walk out in a sweater and sing Dream Along with Me, would it? Or how about Loretta Young, who comes into a show, always through a door? Would it look right if Loretta came out and said, and away we go? Would that be anything? Let's see, who else? The president, he has a very stylish way of fixing his tie. Did you ever notice him doing that all the time? He's always going like this. This is the president. And he uses his left hand so effectively in pointing. It's always the left hand, you'll notice. It wouldn't look right if he came out like Ed Sullivan and said, sitting down in the third row is May Craig. That wouldn't look right. How about, what was it, Lone Ranger would jump on his horse, and say, hi-yo, silver away. How would it sound if he could jump on the horse and said, good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. See? I haven't done anything tonight, as you can well see. I haven't even thought about it. No, I've been fooling around the hall. I didn't think what I was going to say. But the truth is this. There's been a young comedian who's caught on big everywhere but on this show. His name was Woody Allen. And he's 3 shows in a row he's been cut out of. Jane Mansfield was on one night with Zsa Zsa Gabor, and they inhaled, and we ran over, and he didn't get on that night. And every night this kid has been on the show, he's been cut. And to give you an idea, his first routine was about the election. You can see how long ago that was. And I'm afraid he's overtrained. But I want him on in my spot tonight, and I want you to know that not every performer gives his spot to another performer, but I want him to be bigger than I was, even if it means he will never be back. Woody Allen!
It's true that I was booked on the show around 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's not my first TV appearance, but I never joined before this AFTRA, which is an actors union, and I had to join it to do this television program. And when you join the union, they make you join, it's compulsory, a hospitalization plan. And it's a very funny plan because it's like the Columbia Record Album Club, They send me every month a list of operations, and I got to pick out 6 for the year that I want, Then they remove from me a bonus internal organ of my own choosing, and I get a Bach record when the whole thing is over. So I'm happy. I wanted to use my minutes up here tonight to relieve myself of a sense of repressed hostility against the law. I have never had, this is true, any brushes with the law of major consequence. This doesn't count. This is insignificant. I was once sitting home in my house, and some cars pulled up around the house, and they shined in searchlights, and I heard a voice over a loudspeaker say, "We have your house surrounded. This is the New York Public Library." it's true. They wanted me like to throw out a tale of two cities, you know, and come out with my hands. It was a very bad situation at the time, a lot of smoke and everything, and I was unhappy about it. Now, recently, fairly recently, I moved uptown to Madison Avenue and 77th Street, and it's a good neighborhood. It's a very nice neighborhood, and it's a fun place to live. On my corner, when I first moved in, this is just one funny story, I have a drugstore, and a woman ran in. She was absolutely beside herself. Her husband had reached for the wrong bottle on the medicine cabinet and had taken poison by mistake. That's a funny story. He was home on the floor, like kicking, you know, and turning blue and everything, and it was a real emergency. She needed an antidote desperately, and it was a very tough situation. And it turns out the druggist was Alan Funt. He had her on in the store for a half hour there, you know, with things going. So it's a good place, and it's happy, and very convivial and everything. But because there's a lot of money up there, and it's an opulent-type neighborhood, they keep on robbing us all the time. This is a big problem. My apartment alone was robbed about 4 times in 2 years. And they kept breaking in and taking things, you know, and I didn't know what to do about it. So finally I put on my door a little blue and white sticker that said, "We gave," you know? That would be the end of it. But a man in my building, a Mr. Russo, a very nice man, was held up in the lobby. 2 big guys held him up late at night, you know, with a bottle and a stick and everything. And they wanted all this cash, you know, and Russo, like a jerk, tried to sign for it, I think, for tax reasons or something. And they hit him a tremendous shot across the frontal lobe, you know, and he fell to the floor in the lobby in a funny little crumpled heap. And he's never really been the same since the blow to the head, you know. He smiles a lot now, and he laughs out of context, you know, and he just sits on the edge of his bed and recounts his life, but not in sequence, you know. He knows to say his name if you ask him, but he's not as perceptive as, say, the average tree stump. And he formerly was a lucid type, you know. He would react to a pinprick at least. He was now it's mostly finger painting and connecting the dots and everything, you know, and it's that kind of life for him. And people said to me, "Woody, like, you're slight of stature, you know, why don't you build yourself up in the event there's like a hostile incursion from the outside world, you could come on, you know." And I went to Vic Tanny's for about 8 weeks. I did, and I lifted, and I bent, and I squatted, and I did everything they wanted, and nothing happened to me at all, you know. And I finally got the idea maybe I should just give Vic Tanny the cash and ask him to walk me home nights, you know. Not a bad thought. Now, there's a kid in my building. This is true. There's a kid in my building, a little cretinous type named Leon, who takes karate lessons all the time, you know, and Leon's always walking around with his hand cocked at a right angle like this, you know. He's a difficult kid to reason with on any level, you know, and they said that I should take judo because it's a great equalizer and everything, and, you know, but I'm essentially, you know, a practical type, and I've boiled judo down to the principle that the bigger your opponent is, the bigger the beating he's going to give you, you know. That seems right to me, you know, so I wanted to get rid of it, and that was the end. But my friends told me in the back of Esquire magazine, you can send away for a fountain pen that shoots tear gas, you know, and it's a real pen, and it secretes like a gaseous billow, you know, and it could disorient the dog or something. It's a good pen to have, and I sent away, it came $7.50 in a plain brown wrapper, you know, and for the very ashamed, and I put my cartridges in one night and clipped it into my breast pocket, and I went out on the town. So friends uptown were having a surprise autopsy or something. I was invited. It was a big deal. And I'm going out for the evening, and I'm coming home by myself at 2 a.m. in the morning, and standing in my lobby is a Neanderthal man, you know, with the eyebrow ridges, the long arms and everything. You know, he had just learned to walk erect that morning, you know. Came right to my house in search of the secret of fire. He had boiled life down to the principle, son good. You know, he knew that, but beyond, like, he was a tree swinger in the lobby there, you know, a mouth breather looking at me, and I quickly pulled off my wristwatch and dangled it because they are mollified, I hear, by shiny objects sometimes. The tick-tock sound is very soothing to him, you know, but he ate it, and I was really impressed with it. And I stepped back, you know, and I pulled out the fountain pen. I unscrewed the tear gas pot and pressed the trigger, and some ink trickled on my shirt. And I made a mental note to call Esquire and tell them, you know, because I'm standing in the lobby at 2 a.m. with obviously the product of a broken home. You know, I had a fountain pen in my hand. I tried writing on him with it a little bit, you know, but it didn't know something witty, I felt. And he came at me and started to tap dance on my windpipe. And very quickly, I'm alert, I lapsed into the old Navajo Indian trick of screaming and begging. And he backed me off to the wall, and he started to remove my wisdom teeth, you know, and it was really pressure for me, and I'm trying to reason with him because I'm civilized, and I tell him he's the product of an economic squeeze, and he's hitting, we have steps in my lobby in case someone wants to hit your head on something, it's there, and he's pounding it, and I offered to send him to camp if he wanted, anything. And finally, the police came in at the last minute, and they looked around, and they took his side, which I felt was, an extreme poor taste for that thing. Now, that was my second brush. My third and final was the short one, the absolute worst. Across the street from me is Central Park. And Central Park is really populated by difficult types, with zippers and sideburns and everything and black jackets. And they go through the park dismantling social workers and things, And they were doing, Central Park does an outdoor production of Hamlet all the time. It's a big thing. They do Shakespeare under those stars. And they were doing a great Hamlet one evening. And in the middle of the production, these 6 guys come walking through the park, with the jackets and the boots and the whole thing. And they came upon the production of Hamlet, and they grabbed Polonius. And they held his head under the duck pond, that was immediate. And they got Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, and they broke their glasses right off the bat. They're the first. And the guy who was playing Hamlet, felt obligated to do something because he was the lead in the production. But it's funny, you can't come on too strong with them when you're wearing leotards. It doesn't... It's true. Hark and Prithee doesn't cut any ice with these thumpers. Anyhow, the upshot of the whole story was they grabbed Ophelia, but fortunately she turned out to be a cop, so it worked out all right. Anyhow, now I have to go but I have a message in my work if you were listening closely, and that is you should love your neighbor and lay off fatty foods. Good night.